What's going on, everybody? It's that time of the week. It's Monday, so another episode of Weekly Wrap Up. This is our comic book review show, our live show. Catch it every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Brandon.
And this is Bryce.
Guys, this was a huge week for comic books. There's a lot of great books. I'm super excited to be here. We have a great chat tonight, as always. Let us know what your pick of the week is. If you guys are catching this on the replay, much love to you guys. I hope you guys had a great week as well. I hope everyone has a great start to their Monday. It is looking forward to a bunch of new comics on Wednesday. Like our friend Big Herm says, it is Christmas every Wednesday for us comic book fans because we get to go to our store. We get to buy ourselves all these gifts and disappoint our wallets and our partners in life. Let's address the. How are you feeling today, Bryce? Let's scroll up and address the chat.
Well, I lost my voice over the weekend, so if you kind of hear some cracks and stuff throughout the show, it is because I'm just now starting to get my voice back. But other than that, I'm here, still got school going on. But it's been a good week. This is a great week for books too.
Oh my gosh, everything came out this week. Like everything that I wanted to come out this week just happened, and it was like everything is culminating, everything is building. We're at that point where Marvel, which is super exciting. I can't say anything about DC right now. We'll get into it. Let's say what's up to the chat. We got my boy Big Herm in here. Station.
What is up, Big Herm? Yeah, that's that. I'm smart man right there. Smart man.
I'm here for Bryce too. He's rocking that Duke sweatshirt. The last time they won March Madness, they had the biggest one and done team. I think the only player from that team still relevant in the NBA is the most hated player still.
Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyus Jones was doing some stuff for Minnesota for a little bit. He was a really small point guard though, so
he's like everyone's favorite bench warmer, but
Justice Winslow was doing some stuff when he was in Miami, but then he got traded, fell off.
Justice Winslow was supposed to be an athletic player that never panned out. He didn't do anything with the Clippers. That's why they got rid of him. We got my boy Nick, Comic Culture, who also has a fantastic review show, Nick at Night. Catch that every Friday night, non-spoiler reviews. This is your spoiler review, so they kind of goes hand in hand. You get the best of both worlds. I know what your pick of the week is, Nick. I think it's Supergirl. I want to say it's Supergirl. I know it's Supergirl, which we're going to talk about that and more. Yo, we got the homie Robbie, pop culture philosophers. Pop, boom!
Station Papa Boom.
It's good to see you in here, Robbie. As always, we got PCP movie night in an hour. Brother Fable's going to be on that for his first time over there. So we're going to be celebrating that with him over there. I was on Dylan's Horror Show with these guys. This past Saturday, we were talking about the new Texas Chainsaw movie. Robbie liked it more than all of us, which is like the biggest shock because Robbie's like the most critical about everything.
I was gonna say Robbie is very critical, but that's also why I trust him because if he said especially with comics, if he says a book is just all right, I know I'm probably if he says a book is fine or it's okay, I know I'm probably gonna like it. Like it a decent
Robbie
bit.
doesn't like Marvel or DC, so I don't trust that about him.
But if he says a book is stellar, I know it's gonna blow my freaking mind.
Oh man, we got our brother Sal in here. What's up, Sal?
What is going
Sal
on?
has an amazing knowledge of X-Men. We're always talking in the DMs about books. I love Sal to death. He's just a great guy. I want to get him on the show one of these days. So Sal is ever interested. I'm gonna hit him up. We got our brother John Stout in here. What is up, man?
People picking Primordial for their pick of the week this week. I decided to trade weight that one. I'm excited for it to get collected.
What is going on, Manny? What is going on? Manny, thank you so much for the promo. Manny's always throwing out the best promos for everyone in the Bad Batch, other people in the community, but mainly for the Bad Batch. Much love to Manny. I know he's a really busy guy, so for him to just find time, it goes a long way, and I need to do better, Manny. I feel like I'm not doing enough for you, my friend. We got our brother Eric, who says Fantastic Four gets his pick of the week.
Really?
Earlier, okay. I saw Herm say Hulk 4 got his pick of the week. I enjoyed both of those.
Dope.
So we're going to see
that twist at the end of Hulk.
Hulk was so good. I loved it. Pick of the week was Primordial. I know, Bryce, you said you were trade waiting it. I'm trade waiting it because what I noticed after reading Gideon Falls was Gideon Falls turned into a very heavy art-dependent book with Andrea Sorrentino. After the first issue of Primordial, I said, this is going to look so much better collected, or I can sit down, I can read it, and I can just enjoy it a lot more. So I'm with you with that. I'm excited for that to come out in trade. So,
absolutely.
We got Best supporter of the PCP Army Bad Batch, the very beautiful Maria Reyes. Maria was just one of the most kind, who recently had a birthday. Actually, that was Mrs. Chamorro. I'm sorry, that was Mrs. Chamorro. But Maria, we can talk about Bruno some other time. We're going to talk about Bruno.
Is that an Encanto reference?
Yeah. Oh.
I still haven't seen that movie.
Rain was Tiff's Primordial Silver Coin was yours, Manny. Right on, brother. That's awesome. Nice. I got to read both of those still.
I think my pick of the week might have been Flash. I've been really high on Flash.
Really?
And I don't know. Something about that book just did right by me. And I still hold to the fact that Flash is DC's most underrated title. So I'm just going to go ahead and say probably my pick of the week.
If I were to pick 3 DC books that I'm really looking forward to, I mean Swamp Thing when it comes out, but Nightwing is fantastic. This issue was my least favorite of all of them that have come out.
Really? Even the Fear State stuff?
I like Flash, yeah. I didn't read the Fear State. I like the Fear State stuff. I don't care about Fear State. But I really like Flash and I really like Action Comics. So if I were to just narrow down my DC pull list, that's outside so we're not counting Black Label because the Night was fantastic. I enjoyed that. And we got Brother Joe in here. What up, bro, Joe? Yo, Brother Joe, JT, and Herm did a pop-up live the other day, and they were just talking about wrestling, and I'm glad that they have that space to talk about that for them. And whenever they get together, talk about wrestling, I love the energy they bring, and it's not something that I'm familiar with, but I love the energy that they bring to it. And I love seeing that friendship, just the 3 of them just roll with it. It's beautiful to see.
Growing up, I was a huge wrestling nut. I kind of got out of it, but I was a huge, I was going, anytime they come to Huntington, I was going to the shows. That's why I'm so hyped about Peacemakers, because John Cena was my guy growing up.
You need to talk to Brother Joe. I think you and Brother Joe are gonna get along. You and Brother Joe.
My big 2 growing up were Cena and Randy Orton.
Robbie,
was a huge Randy Orton dude.
I don't know who that is, but I'm sure Brother Joe does. And so does Big Herm. Robbie, I see what you're saying. I've kind of fallen into the same trap primarily with DC right now. I think Marvel right now is just more exciting because I feel like that they're really building to something, and then this is my first experience with them actually coming together as a continuity. When I started really getting into Marvel, this is really before Kate's. It was right before when they were right after the Marvel Now kind of thing, and they Legacy. They did all that, but so I'm excited. I'm sold, and I'm gonna ride this to the end. I'm gonna really see this through. If it's a failure, then guess what? I enjoyed the ride, and if it doesn't fall, then I'll be the first one to take back everything I said. We got my brother Puff in here. What is going on, Sean? I hope you had a great weekend, brother. We're gonna have to meet back up soon on Biggie Shacks or even your Saturday show. So
you talk about which publisher you prefer out of the big 2. I don't know. I think DC stories have been a tad their best books have been better than a lot of Marvel's best books, but Marvel's continuity, of course, is much better, with the exception of Doctor Strange.
Right.
But
oh man, we got our brother Alonzo from Team Nerd Yo. So Alonzo, JD, Comics on the Edge, Hip Hops and Me, Geek Driven, John's Comics with Kids, Raging. They all hung out. On Sunday. And it was great. Or Saturday rather. And I love seeing community members get together. I love seeing all these friendships culminate. And it's great seeing it. So I'm so excited that they had that. The California gang had that experience. So much love to Team Nerd Herd. They're one of my favorite people in the community. Alonzo is one of my favorite people. Definitely show some love to Team Nerd Herd. I know they got a show coming up today, and I know they got Mondo Mail Call throughout the week. Our boy Steph was on that, and he killed it, man. Steph just showed up a bunch of Thunderbolt books, and I love whenever Steph just brings out hidden gems and just puts people onto some great books. So shout out to them for spotlighting our brother Steph. We got Lord Chucks in here. What is going on, brother? Hope you're having a good Monday. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. Let's dive into the books. Bryce, how about you kick us off this week?
All right, I'll kick us off from a book from last week because we didn't get to do the show last week. I was really busy with exams and stuff. But, oh my gosh, Chet.
Hi, Chet. Good to see you.
No, I'm staying repping Duke all day. You mentioned that national championship. I was actually at their first round game that year.
Nice.
But yeah. But now I'm gonna kick it off with a book from last week that I thoroughly enjoyed, and that was Devil's Reign, issue number 4. This book really picked up on this issue for me.
Right.
Like the first half was a little slow, you're setting a lot of stuff up, but then here everything is completely getting turned on its head. So, you open with Matt starting to, everybody's kind of reflecting on themselves in the beginning of the book. Matt's reflecting on himself and his decision and everybody else's decision to do this whole hero thing in the first place. Meanwhile, Otto's making his moves with Fisk kind of caught in the middle, dealing with the ramifications. Huh?
I said I want Otto to be like the next big Daredevil, big bad going forward. I just think that would be so fitting.
I mean, you really can't take him away from Spider-Man, but I would kill to see him in some Daredevil.
I would kill it. I would love to see it. Just because Otto has, after his stint as Superior Spider-Man, I just think his time with Spider-Man is kind of stretched thin. There's not much more to go with his character. Put him in Hell's Kitchen.
Spider-Man relaunch is going to be centered around Doc Ock, at least for the first little bit. So, we'll see if Zeb Wells can figure out any new stuff for him. I'd be down to see him in some Daredevil, though. I'd be cool to have Doc Ock just be a new New York villain as a whole. Mary Cage.
So what else you got?
Oh my gosh. But yeah, Matt goes to visit Foggy because, as we know, in issue 3, Foggy was beaten at the end of it. So we see him kind of dealing with his Catholic guilt and whether or not he has done enough at this point for him to think I'm just going to hell either way. Might as well just kill Fisk.
Right.
So we see him kind of struggling with that, and that's really it for Matt in this book. That's really my only complaint is for there not being a Daredevil title. There is a surprising lack of Matt in a few of these issues.
Right.
But, Fisk is letting the Purple Man's powers kind of go to his head. He's recruiting the Thunderbolts to go after their kids. Reed, Sue, Moon Knight, Tony, a bunch of people locked up. They break themselves out of prison. So that was dope. Then we get a lot of moments between Wilson and Butch. I kind of get a little bit of their relationship there. Butch kind of explains his disdain toward his dad.
Right.
And Wilson not really be very receptive of that. We see Rhino flip sides because of this whole thing about Fisk wanting them to go get Purple Man's kids. Rhino's just like, yeah, look, I know I've done some weird or some not so good things, but now we're going after kids and I don't want to do that.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff getting flipped on its head here. See the champions kind of appearing to be like an undercover.
That was weird. That was so weird to me. I was like, it's cool seeing them here, but I was like, there's really no point because Marvel's just not using them.
I'm all for anytime Sam Alexander shows up. So I was happy. I was happy about that. I wish he would have gotten more lines, but
Right.
We see Jessica Jones kind of go off the deep end for a little bit, setting up some stuff maybe going forward. And at the end of it, we get a nice moment between Fisk and Typhoid Mary, only to have it interrupted by Fisk using Purple Man's powers to...
Right.
And this is the most Zdarsky thing ever. He moves the plot forward by having Wilson Fisk remember the first time him and Typhoid Mary hooked up.
Right.
She doesn't remember it. He uses Purple Man's powers to unintentionally help her remember. And then that leads to him remembering the identity of Daredevil, aka Matt Murdock. So leave it to Fisk to use
Fisk
a hookup.
is just gonna go berserk.
Or no, leave it to Zdarsky to use a hookup to progress the plot forward.
Right. That was weird. That was so great. What I like is we've kind of over the years since Fisk became more of a primary Daredevil villain, right? We've seen that relationship be so tethered, and it's like they've been fighting the same battle for years and years and years. What I'm liking about Devil's Reign is we're ending it. We're getting rid of, not really getting rid of their relationship, but we're ending this conflict, this growing conflict. It's time for Daredevil to move on. It's time for something new for this character. We've had seminal run after seminal run, and it's all been the Daredevil and Fisk, Daredevil, Fisk, right? So I'm excited for the relaunch, the renumbering, right? Because we're taking Daredevil in a new direction. and
Oh,
I like that. But it's under the same creative team, so their vision is still intact. So I'm really liking it.
And I mean, maybe they've told their Fisk story at this point, because
Right.
Fisk has been a primary player in this book since day one.
Right. 100%. We
And
had J Rails in here, and we got
what is
Alvin
up,
in here.
J
Thank you guys
Rails?
for joining us. J Rails had a great show today talking about Reckoning War, which we talked in the DMs the other night about. So, of course, I had to appear. I love Fantastic Four. I know she was getting into it. So definitely go catch that on the Remind for her little Monday Munchie lunch get together. I love it. Energy Q puts out is so great. Definitely give her a sub. And everyone's talking about how terrible the dunk contest was. Yo, we had like a nice little show out between Ja Morant and Zach LaVine, and they were in the All-Star game. It was so weird.
Yeah.
For the 75th anniversary of the NBA, that was the biggest disgrace of an All-Star weekend.
Dude, Shaq posted something on Instagram, and if you follow Shaq, you might have seen my comment.
I don't.
I literally commented, wait, it's All-Star weekend? Like, their marketing of it was terrible.
Their marketing was terrible. The DJ Khaled's concert was terrible. The attitudes of the NBA players, honestly, like if you look at a lot like even like early 2000s players who are now retired, you look at like what MJ Magic did for the game, even Shaq you were just mentioning, Kareem. When you're standing in their presence and it's like you just sucked. You know, you didn't put on a great show. I mean, Obi Toppin won the dunk contest, but y'all couldn't even make your dunks on the first try. And I like Obi Toppin.
Kareem walked out. Did you see Kareem walk out?
It was just so disgraceful. You know, these are the people that made it so that y'all could play the game. You know, they revolutionized basketball, right? Even just beyond the sport. And that's kind of what the NBA has turned to. It's turned to a bunch of egos, a bunch of selfish players. And that's why I'm not the biggest NBA fan, you know?
I'm a college basketball fan all day.
I'm just a little bit distracted by the NBA just because I don't like all those egos in one spot, you know? They need a little evidence in their life. They need to like bring me to life, you know? They need to like wake me up inside.
Oh my gosh. Oh, please, you're too young to sound right. Well, hey, I remember even in like the early to mid 2000s term, the NBA was actually like really dope. Like even into the 2010s, I think it started going downhill once LeBron left Miami.
Hey Herm, you know I'm an old soul.
Because the NBA was still dope when he was in Miami. Yeah. Like I was living it up then. Like between the Heat, the Spurs, the Mavericks came out during that 1 year in 2011. Like the NBA was still solid.
Right. I would say football's a little bit better, Eric. And hockey is still decent. You know, hockey's still good.
When do you ever hear many egos come out of baseball? That's all I'm saying.
Bryce Harper.
Okay, other than Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is for every Bryce Harper, there's a Mike Trout that you hear nothing from.
I don't know how many Yankees have gone through New York.
And all I'm saying is like, well, and look at the Reds, man. Since when? Like, I'm a Reds fan. When have we ever had any controversy?
I would say what up with the Pirates? Yo, what up, JD? Who just we had you on his show on Sundays. That show 3 p.m. Eastern time. Collectibles and Treasure becoming my spot to hang out over there. Now that we don't have any football, JD is the place to be. Big shout out to JT. I love JT. I was on there, or JD. I was on his show a little while ago. JD, you got to hit up Bryce, brother. You got to get Bryce on there. I heard the same thing from Given I was eating. Hey, I guess what goes around comes back around, you know. It circle.
Brother Joe, man, yeah, we are gonna have to talk. Randy Orton in college basketball, yeah, that was my jam growing up. Even Duke, man, I remember going to a camp for Duke. Like I was huge into that. Pete Rose, man, that's. I would have killed to have seen Pete Rose in his prime. Then I would actually have a solid argument that he belongs in the Hall of Fame, which I still think he does, even just based off of what I've seen.
Right. All right, I'm gonna talk about a book that I heard that nobody liked. I didn't necessarily like it. I didn't love it. I see the direction. I'm a huge Al Ewing fan. All right, I'm gonna be talking about Venom #5. This is by Al Ewing and Brian Hitch. We're taking a break from Ron V. So Al Ewing has never been a writer that pleases you instantly. This book is not going to be an instant please. Okay, the biggest reason for that is because we're building up, we're trying to explore more of the symbiote mythos because of how popular it is, how dope King in Black was. We're taking this and we're just expanding, right? And I'm going to call this now, right? Because earlier in Venom like 200, throughout Donny Cates' Venom, and we've seen this in Donny Cates' Hulk right now, we're seeing elements of the Ultimate Universe come into fruition. It's like a very slow tease. I think this is going to be the run that ends up bringing back a lot of aspects of the Ultimate Universe. Okay, so for that, I'm looking forward to. We're also expanding on the symbiotes. So Eddie has found his way to a garden with Meridius, who is the ultimate like symbiote, like the creator of it. Essentially, what up, JT?
What's up,
What
JT?
up, brother JT? How are you doing, my man? Good to see you in here. Another amazing soul of the Bad Batch. Love JT.
Venom. Do I hear Eminem?
Venom. Okay, we're getting it. So we're introducing all these different kinds of symbiotes, what they're for, and this Meridius is almost like a tour guide. It's like that grumpy tour guide that's like, you're an amateur, you suck, you're an amateur, you suck, and you're the worst of all. That person who is the worst of all is
If I ever became a tour guide.
Right? So this is a tour guide throughout the symbiotes. We're learning about the symbiotes, and Eddie is learning about himself. What was really interesting is what we saw with Dylan. We got something Wong in here. What's going on,
What is
my
going
brother?
on?
My X-Men brethren, my favorite X-Men debater. You can even say something wrong sometimes. I'm not gonna say it, but y'all can fill in the blanks. But good to see you, Wong, in here. Good to see Wong in here. Much love, Wong. Thank you for joining us tonight. But back to what I was saying. It's like we're exploring the different symbiotes. What we learned with the Rom V issues is Meridius used the symbiotes to basically forge himself into Eddie Brock to like make him appear like he's talking to Dylan, to get Dylan to the garden so that he can bond with that symbiote, because that's the symbiote that he wants to bond with, right? So Meridius is the villain, but he's like trying to set everything up where it's almost like you're training Eddie and Dylan just so you can take over Dylan, who is a much more powerful individual that we've learned so far. So I'm excited for that. And you still have the Maker out there. You still have Vox Supreme out there dealing with everything with Captain Marvel, which I think all of that is going to come into fruition together. So for that, I'm excited with Venom. Brian Hitch, I like his art. I think he's a very I think his aesthetics are great. It was weird because there were parts of this that is like, it was weird. But if you look closely at the symbiote, it's really not traditional. This is really meant to be more of a cosmic feeling, more of a sci-fi adventure. So Al Ewing that's definitely his strong suit, which is why like his Ultimates, if anyone's ever read his Ultimates, it didn't really have a concrete ending to it. There were a lot of loose things like the Maker that is still out there. So I think Al Ewing using the Defenders, right? I'm building on that multiverse. His Guardians, which was really obviously his Guardians was cosmic, but I think that this book is going to be a slow burn. I think it's going to have that slow build. I'm patient with it. I trust Al Ewing. Al Ewing has done nothing but earn my trust. And I think a lot of readers can say the same. So for that, I'm trusting the process. I know people out there like, well, I don't want to sit around and I want immediate satisfaction. Sometimes you're going to feel that sigh of relief at the end. So I'm sticking with it. I like learning about the different symbiotes. I understand where this is going. I know it's really complex. If you're a new person to Al Ewing and this is your first Venom book, this won't be for you at all.
Yeah, but that's kind of why I dropped it.
I know that is why you dropped it, which is why I need to read Donny Cates' first.
They released the omnibus. I'm all over it.
Right, but I like it. I like this Meridius character. I think there's a lot of humor with the other symbiotes. Or we're like, oh, you're the irrelevant one. It's like, or a lot of them are just going at it, right? It's almost like everyone in a fraternity. Obviously, people are like gonna fight. But Eric says he likes Hitch's art, but he's not a good fit for Venom. I could see it.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, there could be a lot of things going on in here. The inking could be off. I mean, Hitch and Sinclair have worked together for years at DC. I'm still excited for it. I'm still looking forward to everything. The setup for why Dylan is going where he is going to end up into the hands of Meridius. So I think that was really cool. You know, you have someone that appears trustworthy, but is really deceptive, also acting like a mentor, right? That to me is like my favorite kind of villain because we get attached to them. You know, it's like we see that back pocket, but our heroes don't. You know, they're gonna feel that betrayal. When they do, everything's gonna change. I like it. I think this is really good. But was I pleased with this issue? No, because this could end up being a complete flop in 5 issues, or we may not even see what the grand scheme of this for 10, 12 issues, however long. So maybe our satisfaction will come there. I'm being patient. I'm sticking with it. It's cool. It's a cool little idea. It's a cool concept. And I think Al Ewing, whenever he has those cool concepts, they usually, like 9 times out of 10, they pay off, just not right away. If you are trade waiting this, I do think that is the way to go, though.
Yeah, Al Ewing is definitely a writer that you can trust, but he is also one to keep you waiting. He is very much one to keep you waiting and have slow burns.
This is the slowest burn. This is the slowest burn. This is the definition of a slow burn. You know, we waited for, this is, Al Ewing co-wrote the first one with Rom. We saw 4 Rom issues, and now we're on this. Right? That's how math works.
Yeah.
3 Rom issues. Sure, fine, whatever.
2. No, 3. It was 3 because Al Ewing.
Fine. Numbers, calculators. I didn't have my calculator, Bryce. Come on, bear with me. But
mine's right here. I'm sorry, the engineer in me just came out full force.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, man. We got one collection down in here. What is going on, Fable?
What? Fable, the man with the plan. Much love to Fable. Like I said, y'all, it's going to be on PCB movie night in a little bit. It's having multiple writers hurting the book. I think, so one thing I've learned from Rom V is Rom V never grew up at reading comics. So Venom is a very new character for Rom V. That's why when Donnie approached him to write the book, Rom said, I can only write Dylan because he's a newer character, easier to understand than Eddie, who's had so much history since he first appeared. And Venom 299, not 300, 299. Don't mistake that. So I think having Rom on there is a little out of his comfort zone, but I think that's going to allow him to grow as a writer, and I think that's the biggest reason. So Al Ewing could almost tutor him how to like really grasp, because Rom is used to writing in prose. He's used to writing longer material, longer novels. We've seen that with Many Deaths Layla Starr, how he loves to use that foreshadowing, and then the artist just like setting the scene, setting that slow, calm pace. And that's a strength of Rom's. This is a different change of pace for him. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily hurting. I wouldn't say it's helping the book. I would say it's just granting more opportunity for the writers involved in the longer run of things. You know, I just like looking at the big picture. Brando is waiting to say he told us all. You know what? I've said that multiple times. Yo, I know I preach that. Because if I say some stuff on this show that hits, I like this time last year, I said Teen Titans Academy is not lasting more than a year. I said that story will not get past 20 issues. It's getting canceled. Y'all got to listen.
No, 15 issues is more than a year, though.
I said it wouldn't last for more than 20. I mean.
Okay, yeah, fair. And I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I just want them to cancel it and give us a good Titans book, but they're probably not going to because DC still doesn't care about them as a team for some reason, right. Even though they're arguably their best team. I would put them ahead of the Justice League as far as characters go.
Oh, yeah. Well, Teen Titans is what brought DC to fame back in the 80s. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's so funny that people just don't that writers just have not grasped, or they haven't had the creative freedom. I don't know what's going on with the Titans, but it's like it's been a mess for years now.
You could say that, like, I don't know. I've heard decent things about the Percy run where Damian was leading it, but the New 52 run I heard was trash. Really, since Jeff Johns, there hasn't been like a seminal Titans run.
So who is? Yeah, I agree with that. So who's the weak point, Ewing or Rom? I think it's too early to tell whether there's a
Yeah.
weak point or not. I would say if there was a weak point, I would say it's more Rom, but I think that it's not necessarily a disappointment week. It's more like it's a learning experience. Like you're improving every issue kind of week. Um, I enjoy seeing how prose writers adapt to the comics medium. I agree with that 100%. I think that adds a
Yeah.
new outlook to comics. A lot of European writers, like when I was talking with Cy Spurrier, that was something that we talked about a lot. So definitely check that out. That was really good information and insight on his end.
Honestly, a guy that
hit
comes to
3 out of 10.
mind.
Yo, that is a good batting average. I'm not gonna lie. If I'm hitting
The
300,
first
I'm
guy
getting
that
paid
comes to
20 mil.
mind.
Huh?
First guy that comes to mind when you're talking about prose novels or like prose novelist or whatever, or
Tom King.
novelist going over to comics.
Dan Abnett.
Brad Meltzer.
Mm.
Brad Meltzer, and
You need to read his Justice League and his Green Arrow.
I'm going to. I have them both, but Identity Crisis alone.
Identity Crisis, so good, so good.
You can like guys like that and guys like Romvey and they are a master. They are masters of setting expectations and then subverting expectations in ways that career comics writers aren't even that good at.
Coates had a rough stride, but eventually it shot. I'm still waiting for Coates to please me. You know, and I have a book right here that I've been trying to get into. I've been actually really wanting to read it for a minute now, and that's The Water Dancer. I really want to read this book. I might just read it after the show tonight. I might start it, but apparently this is like supposed to be like a sad story, but it's also supposed to be like really insightful about lessons learned in life, and that's kind of right up my alley. But I'm excited to read this. I've had it for a while. We got my brother Circumstances. What's going on, man? It's great connecting with him in Robbie's chats the other day. We have had some good back and forth conversations. So shout out.
Here's an interesting question I have for you though. Are there any comics writers that you think would do well writing novels?
I've heard Charles Soule's been doing a good job.
Well, Charles Soule, yeah.
I think if Tom King sat down and wrote a novel, I would be there for it in a heartbeat. I think Tom King honestly, is very wise. Like he's a smart ass, but he's wise. I think BKV would be great.
I think Phil Kennedy Johnson could do a dope Game of Thrones style fantasy series.
Right. I want to talk about X-Men. I'm talking about X-Men.
Talk about it. Yeah, go ahead. I didn't get to finish it. You go ahead, take that one.
So about X-Men number 8. This is by Jerry Dugan and Pina on art. I don't know his first name, but this is the MODOK issue. Don't tell MODOK that we're talking. Huh?
It's a Javier Pina?
Javier Pina, yes. Don't tell MODOK that we're going to be talking about him for a good duration of this segment here. I don't want him to get a big head about it.
Oh
so
my
I'm
gosh.
go straight to his head, you know?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, that's...
All right, anyway, my dad joke set it aside. We're moving on. So, MODOK is hijacking ships, so he can just turn people insane, you know, kind of trigger some emotions in them to make them go berserk, psychotic almost, for science, right? Because MODOK's all about science. By the way, MODOK has created the best living life, you know? If I can just sit around all day and just fly like that, I think you've got it made, you know? Imagine just eating wings, watching football, but like you're just floating in the air. That's a dream.
You ever seen Wally?
Yeah.
That might not be as good as you think.
I agree with that. Chip can write a novel. Yep.
Chip definitely could.
Brother John, what's going on, my man? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Brother John.
So what's going on in this book is we're finally like seeing the ramifications to Laura and Sync's time in the vault, because they had a connection in the vault that took like years. So keep in mind, while they're in the vault, that's hundreds and hundreds of years that were in the vault that were like minutes to us. So the vault we're 35 minutes into the show, that could be 500 years, right? Yeah. So they built a connection because it was those two, and then one other individual that I Sync and who else is in there? Sync, Laura, and Darwin. Good call. Oh man, X-Men First Class did my boy dirty. But
has he even been in this new title or any title since?
I haven't seen Darwin in a minute, bro. I haven't seen Darwin in a minute. So we're also dealing with Cyclops, who died in the presence of many humans, so they have to cover that up by him turning into Captain Krakoa, because Ben Urich was publishing a novel or writing a news article about
Captain
it.
Krakoa.
It's called Captain Krakoa. So we're dealing with this. We're dealing with MODOK. We save the day, but we also get hinted at everything that happened, the emotions that arise between Laura and Synch. Synch is in a he's in a big disposition because him and Laura had a big connection, but that's obviously like Laura is very haunted, right? Being Wolverine, right? Having to make those hard decisions that she made in the vault. So Synch doesn't want to stand in her way of recovery. So he's feeling very iffy during this fight. We learn that what he did to Ben Urich, which was pretty heinous. So while Ben Urich was I guess he like got beat up or he was in the hospital or something. So while Cyclops was getting resurrected, he went to wipe his memory clean, right? And he basically made Ben Urich a vegetable, like a human vegetable.
I mean, I don't know if I go that far, but yeah, you're on the right track.
He made him like he's not going to be the same Ben Urich, right? Who is an innocent man who was just trying to publish a news article that got leaked to him. So Ben Urich technically is innocent doing his job. Synch made a terrible decision for the betterment of someone that he cares very much about.
Yeah.
Right? How we resolve the MODOK conflict is he allows Cyclops to enter his brain and completely like shut down everything that MODOK was doing from inside, and that doesn't sit well with him anyway. So he wants to end up leave. He wants to leave the X-Men. And Cyclops is like, yeah, you can leave when I say you can leave.
Oh, Lord.
But what Ben Urich was really writing about was the immortal X-Men. So we're kind of getting a hint at what is coming up that Kieran Gillen's going to be focusing on is, are the X-Men really immortal, right? Well, who are the immortal X-Men? And how do we ensure that the X-Men can live forever, right? That the X-Men will always be there. So that's what Ben Urich is cracking it, and Synch feels a lot of remorse for stopping that. This feels like a very great classic X-Men issue to where we get to learn about our niche characters. You know, if you've never read Laura, you get a lot of development here. You get a lot of development from Synch. What Hickman did in the Vault is kind of coming back to bite these characters, right? And you can blame Cyclops for that. You can blame Professor X because those were the two guys that sent him there. So Cyclops, yet again, sucks. Station! We got Toynomic Displays in here. What's going on, y'all?
Station. Sorry you guys had to come in on Brandon telling lies, but I'm glad y'all are here nonetheless. Cyclops does not suck. But
got a dip. Station, Manny. Thank you so much for joining us, brother. See you on the other side. But
my North Kakalaki? No, I am in West Virginia. So not far from North Kakalaki, and I want to move there one day, but right now I am in West Virginia.
What's going on, brother?
What is going on, Phil?
Here. What did you read this week, man?
Station.
Cyclops is the man, baby.
Thank you, Big Herm. Thank you. If Chet Knight were here right now, I'd be saying, he's no Steve Rogers, but he's a good leader in the Marvel universe.
I feel like that, like those words triggered Chet to like pop in and be like, Bryce, what did you say?
It's like Beetlejuice. If I say Steve Rogers 3 times in a row, Chet shows up.
Yeah, right. What else did you get to?
So I'm gonna go. While we're already disagreeing about Cyclops, might as well talk about a book we disagree on. I already know we disagree.
Is it this one?
That is Iron Fist.
No, I hate
Iron Fist #1.
I didn't hate it, but I hated it. I didn't.
By Alyssa Wong, Michael Yeague, and J. David Ramos doing the colors. About what? Cyclops? Y'all. It's your troubled souls. I can bring you back into the light if you will let me. I can bring you back into the.
Or you can continue to talk about Iron Fist.
The ruby quartz light, if you will. Yeah, Iron Fist. So basically, this is the start of the newest chapter in the Iron Fist mythos, which for someone like me, who has never read Iron Fist, but does plan on going back and reading more of the Danny Rand stuff after this, this was the perfect place to jump in for me. We get you get a cool little introduction to Kun Lun, or reintroduction if you're already familiar with the character, with Shao the Undying, and then we cut to New York where Danny is fighting these demon-like creatures. So Danny Rand is still in the book. He is just a dope martial artist now, which I'm cool with. I was afraid when they started this book, even though I had never read Danny Rand. I didn't want them to completely erase Danny Rand, but it looks like we don't have to worry about that. But Danny is kind of getting his butt kicked, and this new Iron Fist comes to save him, which I think his design is dope, and having the two flaming fists here. Huh?
That was the best part of the book.
It was most definitely the best part of the book, but it was a fantastic start. We see Danny kind of wanting to mentor this new Iron Fist while also kind of figuring out who he is. Like, look, you're not using your powers right. Like, who are you? I can help you. It's Lin Lee, otherwise known as the Swordmaster. He's a niche Marvel character. They published a series on him, I think, a year or two ago.
Right.
But Danny essentially wants to help him, and Lin isn't interested. So we find out how Lin got his powers. From what I heard, it was in a Death of Doctor Strange tie-in, so I might have to go back and read that. That is one thing I don't agree with, is having this major event take place in a tie-in book. But again, they recap it, see how he got the power of Iron Fist, the spirit of Shao the Undying, and how he came to be in Kun Lun. Him and Danny kind of fight each other over these shards for this sword that is also a huge part of his mythos that I guess was shattered, and he needs to figure out how to put it back together.
That's what gave him his powers, though.
It's what gave him.
Because he never earned it. He never fought the dragon. He never did the work. He fell in a well, you know the story Tiki Tiki Tembo no Sarembo Cherry Cherry Ruchi Piperi Pembo, that children's story where he fell in the well and his brother had to save him. Oh my God, that was
maybe he
That's
will
what
fight.
happened. He fell in the well and got magic powers.
It looks like the dragon is going to come back. Maybe he will fight the dragon eventually.
Right.
But him and Danny have this really cool subway chase. Danny gets essentially locked out of Kun Lun, which is, I think, them saying, his time as the Iron Fist is over.
Right.
His journey with Kun Lun is at an end. And this is Lin's turn now. Find he's staying with this family. They're learning about this sword, and the dad of the family he's staying with turns out to be one of these demons, or one of these cronies for a demon that wants this sword.
Right.
So there was a lot of this book felt really cheesy.
Thank you.
Felt kind of
weird. It was
I don't know. It didn't feel weird to me. It just, a lot of it felt cheesy, but I enjoyed it.
I have to agree that I'm interested enough for the next issue, but I did not like how cliche it was. Why don't I like Cyclops, do you say? Long story short, I think Cyclops makes a lot of decisions that are very emotionally reactive. I don't think he's as good of a leader as people say he is. And I think that he's an extremely selfish character who puts his own needs ahead of everyone else's that they later have to make up for. Long story short. I can get into detail, but I'll save that for a later day. Cheesy can be good. Cheesy can be good. But when I'm looking at this from a writer's perspective, right? I'm looking at oh my God, my ring light, stay. I'm looking at, by the way, this is Alyssa Wong. Art's by Michael YG. I don't know how to pronounce that.
I just said Yeeg.
Yeeg. That sounds terrible. But Alyssa Wong is writing Dr. Aphra. She's been doing a great job over there. And I've met Alyssa Wong before. She's a very nice person. She's a good writer. I think that this coming out of we not knowing where this came from was a big trigger of mine. I was like, okay, who cares? First off, who cares? I don't want to read a tie-in to figure out where this happened. Plus a tie-in that no one cares about, wasn't marketed, right? All of a sudden, Danny Rand is we're kicking him to the side. Who cares, right? Danny Rand doesn't want to be the Iron Fist anymore, but he also wants to help this guy. So I felt like that was contradictory in and of itself. I felt like this first panel was a little bit of an error when he's on the phone. I think that's supposed to be colored as Danny Rand, and it was miscolored.
Oh shoot! Really? I didn't even notice.
I think so. That alone.
Maybe it's the shadow and the lighting he's in that's covering up like his.
I think
his
that
hair.
alone. This was almost like a very stereotypical origin story. He's like, I accidentally got my powers. I want to be bigger than I am, but I don't want to do the work for it. I just want to get all the glory for it, and pretend like everything's okay. Whoop-de-doo. Who cares?
Sound familiar?
Who cares?
Does it sound familiar though?
That's why we've seen it before, and I don't like it.
They knew it works. I mean, that is one thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And what you just described
is
was
Spider-Man.
Peter Parker to a T.
Yeah, but at least Spider-Man had a lot of heart and bags. This guy almost seems more punky and I guess angry. I don't know. I like Iron Fist.
Uncle Ben died. That is what I will say.
I like Danny Rand. And I'm fine with him getting cast. Not really cast aside, but it's like I'm okay with there being the
rebranded, sort of
rebranding the Iron Fist. But the way this was brought up, I was like, as a story, there were so many plot holes to where my mind is like, I'm entertained, but there are a lot of gaping holes from Dylan's horror show, gaping holes, to where I was so not interested in it. Like it could have been so much better. Like, this story has a lot of potential, and I want to like it. I really wanted to. But part of me is just like, there's so many story holes I don't give a damn about it. I couldn't care less about anything going on. The setup was terrible, and it's almost like we're introducing aspects just to, like, talk about it. It's very typical. But, oh, man. I thought the dialogue in the beginning, I was like, because I've taught martial arts for years. That's not how we talk, bro. That's not how we talk. I thought the dialogue was terrible. I was like, what am I watching? I'm like, I feel like I'm watching, not really Cartoon Network, but I felt like I picked up one of, like, those, oh my God, what is that publishing company? That IDW Star Wars books,
Like the High Republic?
Not the High Republic. Like, they do their own, like, little kid line. I'm like, this belongs right up there with those little, like, My Little Pony things where they're talking to each other. I was like, this is terrible, bro.
The way like Danny was calling out like his martial arts moves and stuff like that, that is one thing. Like I was like, okay, this is super cheesy. But when like they were talking whenever he was calling out his martial arts move, I thought somebody was gonna show up and be like, Wonder Twin powers activate.
I'm jealous that come on, I could bang Emma Frost if I really wanted to. It's really up to me, because she's waiting.
Waiting for what? You get out of daycare, you're half her size.
Oh, come on. I guarantee you Emma's like, what, 5'5"?
I don't know. She looks pretty tall. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? Taylor Swift is pretty tall, and I'm still in her, and she's still you know what? I'm out of her league. Let's put it that way.
You know what, Brandon? I like the confidence. I really do. I'm gonna take notes from you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take notes.
Everyone else, confidence is key. You gotta love yourself. If you don't love yourself, no one else will. You gotta love yourself.
Ouch. But yeah, you kind of right. But no, I mean overall, this book.
Yeah, Emma wishes she was with me. She wishes she wasn't with that douchebag Cyclops. That's why she broke up with him. Even though
oh my gosh,
Cyclops is a sucker. Come on now.
Oh man. But no, overall, the book was entertaining. I would suggest, giving it a read if nothing else, but to be entertained. I think it was a decent way to introduce you to a character that guarantee the majority of people are not familiar with. Yeah. And it gave enough intrigue that it made me excited for the next issue. I enjoyed it overall, but like Brandon said, there was a lot gaping wrong. There was a lot wrong with it too.
Gaping holes. Only find Danny Rand interesting when he's hanging around Luke Cage. I agree with that. I find him interesting in his Immortal Iron Fist run and his run with Claremont and John Byrne was good stuff.
Yeah.
But
Bendis wrote him really well too, when he showed up in the Daredevil run, along like with him, Luke, Jessica, Matt, and who else was Peter?
Is that sexual in nature? Is
that a JB song?
What?
I said the love yourself part. I said, isn't that a JB song?
Eeny, miny, mo lover. Shawty is a eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. Okay,
anyway, you want to talk about another book? You want me to take another one?
Oh, I was talking about X-Men. I'm gonna stick to Lives and Deaths of Wolverine. Lives of Wolverine number 3. This is by Benjamin Percy, art by Joshua Cassara. Josh, I really like this book. The whole premise is we're going back in time to save baby Charles because Omega Red is hijacking characters from Wolverine's past to kill Charles. So Wolverine has to relive the multiple lives. So we're journeying through that. Wolverine is put on Cerebro, and he is being powered by Charles and Jean. So one of his old wives that he was with, just the whole thing. What the fuck exactly? Fable, best of luck to you on TCP movie night, brother.
Enjoy Fable later. Station.
I'm gonna be in a little bit, bro. Right after this. But greatest of it all, deep inside, Whitney Houston. Amen, brother. Oh, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat. Okay, anyway.
You gave me a mute button,
So, anyway, Omega Red is trying to kill his wife. So Wolverine has to call out to Dakin, to Jean Grey, be like, yo, you gotta, save Dakin. You guys gotta figure out a way to, create, a psychic around Dakin, because if they kill the wife, then there is no more Dakin. So then we travel to Canada. We're traveling everywhere, and we ultimately get to a part where we see Professor X is an adult, and it's we're looking for Omega Red. It's where is he? Who is he? We saw him impersonate. We saw him impersonate or take over Sabretooth. We saw him take over other people from his past, and this time we're seeing him. Carry him out. You know what? Oh, when Robbie does it, it's okay. Come on now. Okay. So we saw him take over Wolverine's body at the end of this. I was like, that's weird. That's cool. I'm really liking this. A lot of the middle part we were talking about, the early 2000s Wolverine, which I have not read as much, so I can't really speak on that aspect of his history. I'm still catching up on that part, but I can't speak on that. But I can talk about everything else in there. But this was really dope. It's action packed. It's really gritty. It's really grounded, and it's cool. It's almost like Spider-Man Life Story, but it's with Wolverine, and it's dope. So if you're a fan of Spider-Man Life Story, I would say this is right up your alley. It just has a different spin and a more unique way to tell that kind of a story.
Interesting.
That's the best way I can sum it up. So trade weight it, hardcover weight it, and it's gonna read. I think it's gonna read dope. I think it's read better in the trade. I'm kind of excited for that, to pick that up in that hardcover.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We picked up this week Partners Crash Pad, which wonderful story, Righteous Thirst number 4. Not a fan of the story necessarily, but I'm going to skip over that. Visual storytelling.
Great things about Righteous Thirst.
Me too. Kind of soured on the Hickman since I wouldn't say Hickman's left. Hickman, the editing feels very Hickman-esque.
He's still credited.
He's still credited in here, like you said just now, Bryce. But what's really interesting is Ben Percy just does not have the brain power to do this stuff. So I feel like this is Hickman gave him the blueprint, and he's filling in the gaps, which is dope. Which is really dope. I have a nice healthy stack left. I think I have a lot left.
I have 4 books left.
Let me talk about ASM real quick.
Go ahead.
All right, so Amazing Spider-Man. This is by Patrick Gleason, Mark Bagley. I know Patrick himself was really stoked for this because, come on, you're writing for Mark Bagley, who, if you like Spider-Man, Spider-Man is Mark Bagley is arguably the greatest Spider-Man artist of all time. I am a believer that he is. I will debate that against anyone else. ASM, we get to know the Goblin Queen. She's going against Black Cat because Peter Parker is still recovering. The big theme of this, it was almost like the Cobra Kai episode after, oh my God, what's his name? Who got paralyzed?
Miguel.
Miguel got paralyzed and he needs to learn how to walk again. we're kind of going through that. Ben Riley.
Gosh.
Ben Riley took Maxine and just like got the F out of there and just left MJ to deal with the Goblin Queen, who was basically grown by Maxine, who developed Goblin Serum because she took a lot of the Spider-Man Corporation secrets and she's basically just taking everyone's research to create a better Goblin Queen, right? Gleason is a really solid writer. You know, Gleason has written a lot of books before for DC and Rebirth with Peter Tomasi. So this went off without a hitch. I really liked it. Mark Bagley's art is phenomenal. I absolutely love this issue. This was a whole lot of fun. So we're dealing with all that. Black Cat shows up because Spider-Man isn't really at his best. She gets to fall off a cliff. You know, Goblin Queen is just super powerful, right? There's a new aspect about her where she can like use like a laser to like pulse the brain, like the almost like your fight or flight aspect. What is that?
Oh, wow.
I forget what the sciencey term is. That just shows my lack of education on the matter. But Amygdala, whatever it is.
Flight, like your fight or flight instincts.
Yeah. So she falls and she's just like stunned almost, right? And Spider-Man uses his webs or Peter does, right? And it turns out that before that happened, right, Maxine was actually like told Peter, you gotta go, right? You gotta go do this. It's really dope seeing Felicia Hardy playing a big role in this because she's a classic Spider-Man character. She's very unique to his mythos. Her relationship with Mary Jane, obviously, because she's very hot, she's very sexy. MJ is we all know is dating Peter, so there's a lot of riff in there. It's like a little uncomfortable. Like when Peter woke up and saw them both in Black Cat costumes, he's like, oh, not this dream again. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I got slapped across the face by the both of them. But this was a lot of fun, you guys. I really liked it. I mean, and he gets his suit back. Come on, like that's dope.
That's fantastic. Oh, maybe I need to go pick up that issue then.
Like this was great.
Peter's back. It looks like.
I liked it. This was freaking tastic. Like out of all the Beyond issues, I would have to say this one was my favorite. Foam Panel says Hawksbox is excellent, but no Krakoa Era 7 has hit me with the same potency. I get it. I totally understand.
Yeah, I would disagree with Inferno, but I get it.
Yeah. I still got a nice healthy stack. Bryce, what you got for us?
What do I have? Well, I talked about this being my pick of the week earlier, but I just want to go ahead and talk about it. The Flash, issue 779 by Jeremy Adams and about 3 different artists. Let me see if I can find them all to give them the proper credit. Fernando Pasarin, who I think should be the mainstay artist on this book, Matt Ryan, and Brent Peoples, with Jeremiah Skipper, Peter Pantazes, and Jeremy Cox doing the colors. This book was fantastic in my opinion. This wraps up the whole Gem World arc with Justice League Dark. We start out where we left off with the kids in the last issue, where Jay has gotten some Speed Force back from his sister Irie, and right. He can tell that Wally is in trouble.
Right.
They're trying to figure out they got to get to him, and we see little hints of Irie's friend Maxine kind of having some powers. So they go there and they meet up with Wally, who is still fighting an Eclipso-controlled Justice League Dark. Eclipso is the main villain for this, and I thought it was fantastic. The kids do their thing to help free Wally, and that is where we find out that Maxine, who is Irie's friend, is actually Maxine Baker, the daughter of Animal Man.
That was fantastic.
That was dope. So yeah, Animal Man has a daughter that is teaming up with the Flash now. So maybe we get a Flash Animal Man team up at some point. I mean,
cool.
But yeah, essentially they're trying to work with this Opal character who still wants to help.
Thank you for being here, but man, appreciate you stopping by.
Who still wants to help them take down Eclipso.
Right.
And so they determine that the kids and Opal are going to help Wally with this glaive that Opal is repowered. to try to stop them. So they clear a path. Wally goes and does his thing. All the while, Eclipso is taking control of different worlds in the universe. They go do that. They're, of course, successful. And just look at this art, too, by the way. Like
that was dope.
It was absolutely fantastic. They, of course, succeed. The Justice League Dark is freed. The universe is freed. And then Wally has a fantastic interaction with the Spectre. This is actually one of my favorite Spectre appearances that I've read outside of Crisis on Infinite Earths, because obviously that's like the gold standard in my opinion. But yeah, he basically says how all of this was an act of God, which, I mean, if you're going to have that, might as well be the Spectre.
Robin, what's up,
what is going on?
Station.
They find out that Jay has had pain, like constant pain. The Speed Force has been slowly killing him, and he finds out through the Spectre that this Speed Force surge that he's had ever since the first arc, that was actually the reason Heroes in Crisis happened the way it did, can be used to kind of stabilize the Speed Force inside of Jay and give him his powers permanently. So he does that. That happens. You get like little speedster kids now. And then we close on Wally's wife, Linda, going to check on her kids, trying to get a snack or something, and discovering Speed Force powers of her own. So the Flash essentially became the Incredibles.
Where's my
freaking here for it? I'm absolutely in love with this book. I think if you're going to have an Incredible style book, Wally West is the perfect character to center it around.
Was it for the greater good? Greater good.
The greatest good you were ever going to get.
The greatest good you were ever going to get.
The Flash, in my opinion, like Williamson's run was epic. Adams' run has just been a lot of fun so far. It's a nice change. It's a drastic change of pace, but it's a nice change of pace and a welcome one.
Right.
Brandon,
that was a dope issue. I think that I get very astray to books that like have 3 different artists, because usually DC does a terrible job at blending all 3 styles. This one,
Justice League Incarnate.
Thank you. Yeah, Justice League Incarnate. Terrible, trash.
The writing saves it, and even then, it has its weak points.
Yeah. So, I dug this book. Wally West is my guy. This book is just so crazy fun. It's just like,
oh yeah,
it's like almost operating at an indie level. Almost like you can be completely ignorant to Wally and his family and still just dive deep in here. I think it does a good job at separating Wally, and Nightwing does that too. Like a lot of DC's better books, Superman does it. It just does not tie to the rest of the universe, because the rest of DC continuity is ultimately trash.
The only thing Robin really ties to is whatever else Joshua Williamson's writing too. So that is another one I would say that is kind of Damien's off doing his own thing.
Right. My pick of the week. I'm gonna talk about my pick of the week, and that was Thor.
Oh, you're taking this one from me. Go for it, though. This was fantastic.
This is by Don. You can take Hulk. You can. What am I saying? This is by Donny Cates, Nick Klein. Also, stay tuned for a little Whiplash Wednesday, changing up the pace. I'm going to be talking about Into the Donnyverse this Wednesday. That's going to be fun. I'm going to film it right after this. So, I'm going to edit that, have that out by Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. Lonely City has been delayed. Again. But I like that book a lot. So, Beta Ray Bill is called to action because the God of Hammers is wreaking havoc, right? A lot of Odins. If you saw the intro to this show, it's titled Odin's Sins Haunt Thor in a Devastating New Way, or something like that, right? That's really what it was, you know? That's really the narrative of this. Odin has done multiple things throughout his history as a father, as a king, that now Thor is dealing with, right, and has to kind of clean up. You know, we've seen that in the movies, we've seen that in the comics a lot, and it's really coming full circle in this story. Beta Ray Bill is back in action. He's got his He's got his sword, that if you've read, that gives a nice little nod to Danny Warren Johnson's little mini series of Beta Ray
Oh yeah,
Bill.
dude,
So
that
I
had me
like
hyped when
that.
it showed up.
I was like, yo, Beta Ray Bill's back. We get a little bit of a glimpse into what everyone's going through. I like how we have Ben Riley in there. We still see Angela in here. We see Throg. We see Man-Thing, who had a little bit of a mini tie-in to when did he last appear? He had like a little mini-series event that Steve Orlando did. We see the Fantastic Four. We see Iron Man, who's in space. We see Doctor Strange in his Silver Age costume. So I guess this was written then. We see Wolverine battling it out. Everything's like kind of speaking to each other. Nick Klein is the artist, so you know that this is going to be a great book. So the Mjolnir is very angry, right? It's very angry that Odin years ago fought him and almost like kept him hidden, right? So now Mjolnir, now that Odin's kind of out of the picture, can start slowly putting the pieces back and unleashing some of Odin's mistakes. What was one of his biggest mistakes, you may ask? Something that we saw that a lot of people were sleeping on, and that was the Donald Blake arc. So that build up,
back everything
I was
tied
like,
together.
oh my gosh, that is just so exciting because that proves, Donnie really does have that tunnel vision, right? Nothing he includes is like everything that he includes is gonna matter. And I think as a writer, right, that's like the Marvel way. Talk about how to make Marvel comics exciting.
Yep.
That is one way to do that. That's how you do it. And Donny Cates is the most exciting writer in comics, whether you like him or hate him. He's the talk of the town. Every week he's dropping a book. Everyone's raving about it. What does a show without my earbuds not staying in? I feel like that should be a drinking game. Every time Brandon's earbuds fall out, you take a shot. You'd probably be at 12 now, but those who can hold your liquor are really holding it down.
But yeah, Thor is easily the most exciting and probably most
Right.
high profile book in Marvel right now. Like I would say Thor is even more high profile than ASM at the moment.
Right.
Because of Donnie.
Oh yeah. Really cool thing about this book that we continue to see is Thor trying to connect with his mother. We have this growing tension of Odin trying to make up for lost time with Thor's mother and with Thor himself, because Odin now not being a king notices how his mistakes have come back to bite him in the butt. Right? We saw him get struck by Mjolnir in the previous issue. But okay, I like this comment here. Fell off Cates' Thor almost immediately. I would dive back in. It's really exciting. Enjoyed Silver Surfer Black. That's just a great love story of Silver Surfer. I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
Shank Chad Moore's art was incredible. I agree. I have the Treasury edition, so maybe
one thing I will say with Cates' Thor, if you want to see how everything ties together, read it as a binge.
Yeah.
Definitely read this as a binge because Cates is taking stuff like this Mjolnir thing that's been going on has been going on since issue 1, and we are on issue 22, and it is just now started to come full circle.
We're teasing, we're slowly building, right? So kind of like I said about how Ewing is, you're not going to get that instant satisfaction, but once it's like you're invested, you're consumed in it, you're into it, you're digging it, you're along for the ride. This is the reward you're going to get as a comic book fan.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you make comic books exciting, Screw big events. This is a great story. And guess what? The fact that it's getting bigger just is like so wow.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just like, I'm just geeked. I'm geeked. I'm in.
And Cates has even tweeted too. Cates has even tweeted that he is nowhere near done with the Black Winter from the first arc. And so we know that the Black Winter is going to be coming back and most likely coming back with a vengeance.
Right. Long-term storytelling. So for comic fans, right, a lot of times there are a lot of reviewers out there who try to get that instant satisfaction, right? If they don't get it, that doesn't mean it was a bad story, right?
Yeah.
A bad story is you didn't get any satisfaction at all. You didn't get to see anything to look forward to. You didn't get to think about anything, right? And I think this book does that a lot, Not every issue is going to hit, but trust the process. There are a lot of great creators in Marvel right now who are doing that long-term storytelling, which we have not seen since, I will say, Bendis in the early 2000s, since Hickman's Fantastic Four, since
Brubaker.
Since Jason Aaron's Thor, Brubaker's Captain America.
I would say the one in recent years that has been masterful long-term storytelling, in my opinion, and I talked about it earlier, but Joshua Williamson's Flash.
Yes, Josh Williamson's Flash was superb. And I don't like Barry Allen. I can't stand Barry Allen, but I love that run, which is why I give Joshua credit in his own right. So anyway,
very rarely do you get 100+ issue runs and they work almost
right.
in every issue.
Right. So Mjolnir is or the god of hammers is starting to really come down on everything, you know, and Thor tries to fight off with the powers from his mother that she bestowed onto him, and now he's calling for his father, and he's like, you need to like, he's like, the only way you can defeat him is if you take my powers. I'm not I'm not the same Odin I was. It's time for you to lead. It's time for you to be better than me.
The All-Father.
You are the All-Father. So in doing so, his dying wish, he gives his powers, embeds them into Thor, and we get a new dope Thor costume, and Thor just loses his father, but now he can put the hammer down, and he now has Odin's sword. He still has his costume, but he has his armor is just so great. Guys, this was a treat. Such a treat.
This is going to be a power level for Thor, in my opinion. It wouldn't surprise me if Donny Cates made him more powerful now that he has the full strength of the Odin Force.
Right.
More powerful than when he had the power cosmic. Like if he could somehow make that work.
Right.
Because the continuity is his to play with. And honestly, I would love to just see a new level of power come from Thor.
I'm here for it. It's exciting. I'm here for it.
This run, and I've since gone back and read the Jason Aaron, 2 of the Jason Aaron complete collections that have been released so far. But this run made me a diehard Thor fan. So if you've not read this run, I know a lot of people have been. If you've not read it or if you've been kind of hesitant on it, this run turned me into Thor being one of my top 5 characters in Marvel, honestly.
I would say both stories. Like, I can't even decide which one I like better because they're both probably my top 10 comics of, like, all time. This is my favorite Donny Cates project, y'all. This is my favorite Donny project.
If God Country didn't exist, I would say the same.
I like it better than God Country. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, that is where trades come in handy, and I guarantee you, if you like the omnibus format, when this run is over, I mean, who knows when that will be, but this book will get almost an immediate omnibus. I mean, look what they did for his Venom.
Right. Talk about Hulk for us, Bryce.
Talk about Hulk? Gladly. I really enjoyed this. This is probably my favorite issue of Hulk so far.
Oh, we get it. That's why we're here. It's because we read everything.
This is definitely my favorite issue of Hulk so far.
Yes.
Again, Donny Cates, Ryan Ottley, who is my favorite artist, I would say maybe outside of Mark Bagley and Jeff Shaw. Yeah, Jeff Shaw's that high for me, but Ryan Ottley's right there, and they've been telling this Smastronaut story.
Yep.
Which is essentially what if Hulk was protecting us from Bruce Banner, and they essentially turned Hulk's body into a spaceship powered in the mind by Banner, but fueled by Hulk's rage.
Right. So Banner, one of the smartest individuals. Arguably just as smart as Reed Richards, who we're going to discuss next.
Yeah. Arguably. Most definitely. But we're in kind of this Hulk multiverse right now, like into the Hulkverse.
Right.
And so it opens up on Earth 122, where Thunderbolt Ross is the president. The gamma bombs that turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk were actually successful, and we see the ramifications of that. One immediate ramification being that Tony Stark went into bankruptcy, fell deeper into his alcoholism, and poisoned his liver to death.
Right.
So we start to see that, this world isn't really this world is horrible.
It's fucked up. You know what's also really interesting that I was talking about earlier is the Ultimate Universe. A big aspect of the Ultimate Universe in Ultimate Fantastic Four was Marvel Zombies that we saw in this issue. So to me, I was like, that's just another piece to my theory that I think will be correct.
Also, this book's really pushing the boundaries for how gory Marvel will go, in my opinion.
Yes. Oh,
Because
I agree.
on the 3rd page, Cyclops gets his head blown off.
I loved it.
I know you did, but still,
Mwah.
Cyclops gets his head blown off. We see Bruce kind of feeling bad about that because, I mean, at the end of the day, the person that caused this, even though it wasn't him, was him.
I give him a trophy.
Yeah.
A plus. You hit a home run. Grand slam.
So Thunderbolt Ross sends like these iron troops after him. The Hulk decides to go fight them, to take them on. He starts getting blown, so he decides to up the power, and that's
He
where the
got blown.
Marvel
Is that
zombies
sexual
come
in
in.
nature?
Huh?
I said he got blown. Is that sexual in nature?
He got blown up,
Oh,
and he
damn
decides
it.
to up the power, so that's where the Marvel zombies come in. We get a dope scene with the Marvel zombies there that is essentially upping the Starship Hulk's power. We then see a conversation between Ross and the Banner of this Earth. Basically, he has a blindfolded kid basically saying, like, if you don't call this thing off in 10 seconds, I'm going to kill your protege.
Right.
We don't know who this protege is, but the countdown happens. He pushes him off he pushes him off the helicarrier, or what it seems to be the helicarrier.
Right.
And we learn who this protege is. He asks who he killed, and this Earth's banner just says his name was Peter. And then we read more and we find out that Peter Parker on this Earth is who I am deeming the Gamma Spider.
Hey, Foam, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Much, much love.
Yeah, we get the Gamma Spider in this issue. Look at that. Look at that. That is just...
Oh, dude, that was so dope. I loved it.
When that got revealed, I literally jumped up out of my chair. I'm like, did we just get a Gamma Spider?
I was like, that's just another cool concept. I'm just like, that's just what I love about like about a lot of these writers right now, like Al Ewing, Kieran Gillen, Johnny Cates, Dan Slott. We just getting a concept after concept, and it's like that's very thought provoking. And if take the time to involve yourself with these characters, you can really shake up a lot of great conversations, a lot of great theories as to what's coming next.
Exactly.
And it just makes comics fun. And I think that's the biggest strength of Marvel now is it's so much fun.
Well, I would say that's where
I sound like Herm right now. I love it. I said, now I know what Herm feels like. Station Herm!
I've loved this book for a while, but this took it to another level for me.
Right.
But Marvel, this is where you get like the contrast between Marvel and DC and realize they are both doing great things right now. They are both a blast to read. But Marvel is delving more into more epic concepts, whereas DC is actually focusing on character studies this time.
Well, Marvel's also doing a lot of character studies. Like this,
they're doing a lot of character studies.
It's not about a whole character study,
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like, I don't know, DC to me, like, and I hate comparing the two. I say as I'm comparing the two, but you look at something like Nightwing or Robin or Action Comics or The Flash. You are getting character-focused stories, whereas something like Thor, something like Hulk, something like Devil's Reign, in my opinion, while they have a lot of fantastic character moments, are very plot and narrative-driven.
Right.
So you're really getting a nice contrast to where I know a lot of people are kind of getting out of the big two right now, but I think it is a blast, and there's something for everybody there.
Right. I got 2 more books. I got Fantastic Four and Supergirl. I believe you got Nightwing, right?
Nightwing. Yep.
Fantastic Four: Reckoning War. This is number 40. Or a story by Dan Slott, Rachel Stott. Stott is the artist. So, premise: what's going on? Watchers back. We have people who from the Reckoning, which is why the Watchers exist, to prevent this. Their job is to only get involved when this group comes back, because they are the ones that kill the Watchers. They are the ones that kind of kill the timeline of everything. Right? So Nick Fury, who's been a ghost for a while, is back. Uatsu came out from his eye. We saw that in Empire, so there's going to be Reckoning. Speaking of blasts, it's my favorite Bengals fan in the world.
What is going on?
What up, Papa Sexton?
That is that.
Can I say hi, Dad? Is that appropriate? I can say, what's up, Dad? Because like we're brothers. So I
Oh,
don't want to be too
I used to call him when he coached me in baseball. I would always go up to him and be like, "Hey, Coach Dad."
I'm gonna pull a varsity. I'm not a varsity. I remember the Titans line. Can't you see the family resemblance?
Oh my gosh,
But
I need to watch that movie again. I'll ever remember
I love
the
that
Titans.
movie. I love Remember the Titans.
Best football movie of
Because
all time.
baby, there ain't no mountain high.
And I know my father is going to say The
Ain't
Replacements, but no,
no
remember the
valley
Titans. Best football
low
movie of all time.
enough. Ain't no river wide enough.
And time to utilize this button. There we go. Okay.
To keep me from getting to you, babe.
Oh man, talk about Fantastic Four, will you?
All right. I love music, yo. So we're dealing with everything. A while ago, CBR teased that someone's gonna die from the Fantastic Four. I kind of theorized and I said I really want it not to be the Human Torch because he died years ago. We just saw him die in Life Story, and we've seen him kind of get tortured. I said I wanted it to be Reed Richards. I'm right. It is Reed Richards. Oh no! Don't make me on Howard Slabby. He's talking to you. You're his son. I'm no longer in the
Oh
family.
my gosh. All right, Loki. I've never seen this man before in my life.
So, what's really interesting is Reed is tinkering with this new piece of technology. It's almost like a high-powered Cerebro system where he's able to contact Silver Surfer, who is like the most powerful character in the Fantastic Four fandom that he could possibly call on, right, to help save him from this atrocity. In doing so, when the Watcher dies, or the Watcher didn't die, when the Watcher's like, I need you to take the power of us, right? This was a few issues back, right? That has been killing Reed. The knowledge of everything going on to make this machine, to deal with all of this time and space building the Forever Gate, has killed him, is killing him. So in saving the universe from this reckoning war, it's time for Reed to die, essentially. So Reed is almost making the rounds, right, in this issue while they're fighting. Human Torch goes up to him, who's been in flames. He can't go back to his normal form, and he's kind of ticked off at Reed because Reed's like, I can't fix you because you're our biggest weapon now. So you're like more powerful than ever. We need you, brother. So, which I get, but Reed's also kind
You're
of
done.
You're
done.
He's Loki, get it? Get it?
He does that every time I say Loki.
So I thought this was super dope. I really like this issue. Fantastic Four was awesome. Eric, if you're still here, I know you really liked this issue, and I'm excited to talk about this with you more in the back chat. But Fantastic Four is super, super exciting right now.
So they said he's kind of going to take his place in the FF then?
I'm sorry?
Have they said anybody's going to take his place in the FF?
No, the last page was he's like, dude, guys, I'm dying. And then Ben Grimm was like, what? That's how we edit it. So, another time where I can predict the future. Eric, of course, you're still here. I remember talking to Eric. I remember saying, I think it's going to be Reed. I want it to be Reed. I want to know what the Fantastic Four is like without Reed Richards. That's a cool concept. We're talking about concepts. That in and of itself is dope.
Yeah.
Phil, Comic Talk Weekly.
What?
I miss you, Phil. I hope you're doing well, brother. It's good to see you in the chat. I love you, Phil.
Station Phil.
The guy who owns my LTS looks smack like Phil.
Did I meet the owner when I was there, or did I just meet a random employee?
No, you didn't see them. You went to Frederick. Yeah, you were there. But I really like Fantastic Four. I've been kind of preaching that since Empire ended. This has been a great book, right? And I guess a lot of people now are following suit, saying that it's picking up the pace.
Was it not that good for the first few issues?
No? It was 1 through 10 were fine. 12 through 20 kind of went downhill. But we're building back up. I only got one more book to talk about. I mean, I can talk about King Conan. King Conan's dope. If you're not reading Conan already, you're not reading this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. This is also going to be pretty non-spoiler because I do want to get to Nightwing. Supergirl number 8 of 8 by Tom King, Bilquis Evely. This wrapped up very nicely. Cool little twist at the end, almost like a Killing Joke moment at the end.
Really? How about that?
Art by Bilquis Evely was fantastic. Tom King kind of changed his style up in the way that he's writing. He's writing a little bit more in prose that we were kind of talking about earlier. So I really enjoy this book. It's going to read fantastic in that beautiful hardcover that DC loves doing. It's worth it, guys. Definitely check it out. Supergirl. This is a book that probably my second favorite Tom King book. I would say Mr. Miracle and then this. I still need to read Strange Adventures.
I need to read Strange Adventures.
And I'm halfway through Sheriff of Babylon. But
how's Human? Is Human Target not that good?
Oh, Human Target's fantastic. It's just I like this much better.
Fair enough.
Tom King, love it, love it, love it, love it. Absolutely.
Tom King kills miniseries.
It's great. Got a dip. Thank Brian Papa Sexton. Thank you so much.
You keep on thinking that. You keep thinking
Vision. Ooh.
I need to read Vision too.
You know what? Supergirl is right. To me, it's like tied with Vision, though. To me, it's tied with Vision. I really dug this.
I need to get Vision so I can read it.
I really dug this. I think it's because like Vision was a character we already knew, so it's like to me it's like to write a Supergirl book, a character that's lesser known, but it's on the same level, which makes me appreciate it a little bit better. Gabriel Walter, who did the art in Vision, was great. So they're completely different. Yo, we got my boy TM Nerdy in here. Station, brother.
Station. Yeah.
Good to see you up in here, TM. Always good seeing your beautiful face all the way from Canada. Hope you're staying warm. Hope you're staying safe because I know you guys got a lot of snow. Bryce, Nightwing.
Nightwing, 89 by Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo, Adriano Lucas. I think it's Adriano. Check the last page here. I want to give the colorist some credit. Yep, Adriano Lucas. So this is part 1 of a crossover with Superman, Son of Kal-El, which part 2 will be in Superman, Son of Kal-El. So that will be the first issue of that I pick up.
Right.
No, excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Don't ever do it again.
But yeah, we open up on a flashback with Nightwing and Batman going to try to find who we realize is Jonathan Kent. We kind of see Dick form a relationship with John early on in his life and how he understands John's point of view. Like, as soon as they show up, John shoots heat vision at him. Batman's like, what happened? And Dick's like, you kidding me? Like, a giant bat just came into the cave and he shot at us. That's what happened. A giant bat showed up. So he takes off their masks, introduces himself, tries to calm John down, and he ends up doing that. Bruce and Clark have a heart-to-heart while Dick is trying to console John. We find out that the lollipops are right next to the smoke bombs. So that's something right there. But yeah, so Dick is basically just trying to make John feel comfortable in this situation because he's scared. And Bruce and Clark have a nice heart-to-heart about parenting and how you always worry about your kids and things never get easier. We cut to now where Clark is off on Warworld and John is in the Fortress of Solitude talking to Clark and how that isn't really doing anything for him. He says if he can't have the real thing here, I'd rather just be in solitude. Right. So we see John is kind of starting to isolate a little bit. But before he gets too isolated, Dick is alerted by Kellex, who's the robot in the Fortress of Solitude, that John needs him and that he maybe should have checked up on him already.
Right.
Which we get a great Dick and Barbara moment here. We find out that Barbara likes Teen Titans Go and Dick sleeps in Batman pajamas. Just little stuff. Little stuff make this book great. Little things make this book great.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. That was pretty fun.
So we see a bunch of former Titans, or one former Titan get murdered. That seems to be the whole mystery of this crossover. If you've not been reading Superman, Son of Kal-El, this is where we get introduced to Jay, who is John's boyfriend. And I gotta say, I'm not sold on Jay's character
Oh, I
based
can't
off
stand Jay.
based off of this interaction. And if you are not reading Superman Son of Kal-El and this is supposed to drive you to that book, I don't think this is how you want people to feel after getting introduced to Jay.
I have my own opinions of Jay.
Fair enough, but yeah, we find out that they've got this interview with this for the truth, which I guess is Jay's kind of is he like a journalist or something?
Yeah, he is their main journalist.
Okay. So that's like his company, I guess. And who is this person that they are meeting and interviewing? It is none other than Dick Grayson, who is the talk of the town right now ever since he inherited Alfred's billions of dollars and put it back into the community of Bloodhaven as a nonprofit, the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation. Dick has become a celebrity. And so that is who they're interviewing, but that interview quickly gets interrupted by some people named Airy and Wink, who I'm guessing are other Son of Kal-El characters.
Yeah, lightly touched on. Side characters.
Side characters. So that part was a little weird for me.
There's been no character development in Superman Son of Kal-El. So all those other side characters, I'm like, I don't care to know their names. I just don't.
But, yeah. Basically, Dick tells John, it's like, look, Superman, like, let's go take care of this, see what's going on. And we get a brief interaction of them in costume. We find out that other Titans have been murdered, and that we go. What was it? Said they're John's following the energy that was left by these people, and it traces back to LexCorp. So, of course, if you're in Metropolis, something goes wrong. Where's the first place you check? Lex Luthor.
For me,
I mean, I enjoyed the issue as a whole, but it was a weaker one for me. I don't think it was as weak as the Fear State stuff, but Bruno Redondo definitely carried this issue, in my opinion.
He's been carrying this whole series, in my opinion. I mean, Tom Taylor's great on Nightwing. I think this issue was a huge miss for me. I'm really close to considering dropping Superman Son of Kal-El. I don't believe in using aspects as a character that push agendas as a plot device. Okay, so what I mean to say is Jay is a character in Superman Son of Kal-El who looks very stereotypical, acts in a very stereotypical way, almost like a damsel in distress 24/7. We know that Jay has powers, but we don't really know much other than that. Then he's like a reporter. Jay has powers. He figures out he has powers. But there's no substance to Jay. It's like, okay, here's someone who's discovered that they're bisexual. I'm for that. As someone who's grown up with John, my first time reading Superman was Tomasi's run with Gleason and Super Sons, right? So that's John at an early age. John is a very charismatic person. He cares a lot. He has a lot of feelings. Him and Dick Grayson are really similar. But as you grow up, you don't really lose that charismatic side. If you're an energetic person, that just stays with you. And I think once Tom Taylor decided, let's make him bisexual, he changed a lot of his personality to fit that narrative. And his bisexualness has become a plot device rather than a push for representation. And it's almost like we don't know John anymore. We don't really know who Jay is. And we've had a bunch of issues to figure that out because the story is so centric to those two characters. Yeah. I'm not saying DC is I'm not saying that I'm against John being bisexual, right? Because a lot of adolescents start discovering that. I'm all for you having a Superman that can speak to a different aspect of culture, right? A lot of it's really easy as a white male to say, oh, screw that. But we've had years of looking up at Clark Kent. We have a lot of other white characters in that role. Yeah. You know, it's time for someone in that role who has that title to represent modern society. And I agree with that, right? I want to
had two Superman books for years.
But what I don't agree with is you using that as a plot device, and it's almost comes off a little bit as pandering. That may not be the intention. It may be Tom Taylor being caught up in that moment. But whatever it is, it's not thought out. It's not natural. It's like it's almost like one LGBT person meets another, and boom, it's like there's nobody else, right? Which that's not the case. If you look at modern society, that is not the case. A lot of my friends outside of this that I've gone to school with, that I've grown up with, are LGBTQ, right? But they don't really play that little damsel in distress kind of thing that Jay is every 2 seconds. So that's my standpoint with this, and it's almost to the point where, where an issue in Superman Son of Kal-El where he was fighting in the water with the monster in Gamora. Jackson Hyde came up and was almost in a role of tutoring. Now, they're like a few years apart, give or take. Jackson has not had the experience to do that, but who's an LGBT character. But who has that experience is Arthur Curry, who we don't really see a whole lot. So that would have been more thoughtful to teach John and to grow his character instead of going to almost like, well, let's see if we can attempt representation. To me, that's not exactly a great approach, right? Because I know a lot of people in the LGBT community are not as responsive to this relationship, which started out as a beautiful thing. If you look at Wiccan and Hoagland, we got attached to them as characters, right? Their relationship was never the biggest aspect of Young Avengers. It never was. It never has been. It never will be. They got married in Empire. That was never the forefront of Empire. It was very natural. And we know everyone who's been a part of that journey has loved it for what it is. And that is a natural, genuine relationship between two male characters, right? One is a shapeshifter, right? Which can almost, in a lot of ways, represent a minority character. We've seen a lot of X-Men characters have relationships with each other that have been very natural, that we've seen, build up. It's not.
Yeah.
This almost felt like a Tinder date where you have no other option, which is not the case in modern society. So if you're trying to attempt to reflect modern society, do it. This isn't doing it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And I love Tom Taylor, right? I'm a huge fan of Nightwing. Nightwing's my favorite character. I've been loving this book, but I'm not loving what I'm seeing of John Kent and this rebranding of his character, because that's essentially what it is. There's no self-discovery. There, I would think by now we would have had some insight into what have triggered, what has caused, what is unlocked, not what caused, because it's always been a part of him, right? You were treating this that it's always been a part of him, but what has unlocked this aspect about John? He's not the same John.
Not at all.
I have an issue with that.
I mean, I'm not as familiar with John, but again, this does feel like a bit of like, oh, we're going to make him bisexual, and now that is his personality.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I'm not as familiar with LGBT characters in comics, but one that I've seen in a TV show, for example, because I've seen a lot more in TV, that was done really well in my opinion.
Modern Family.
No, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, I haven't seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Captain Holt. I thought he ended up being my favorite character in the show.
Mr. Terrific is another LGBT character.
Really? I didn't know that.
Mr. Terrific, Midnighter and Apollo. Those are relationships done well.
Mr. Terrific, gay, bisexual.
Mm-hmm. He's gay.
Huh. Didn't know that. But yeah, I mean, that's Midnighter and Apollo is a really well done one in my opinion.
I would read Steve Orlando and Fernando Blanco's book.
I'm saying even in Superman, like even in action comics, like
it's really well done.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I will say my LCS owner told me when I bought this issue, he said, "Yeah, I've heard that's the best issue of Superman Son of Kal-El you'll read." And I'm like, oh, that's funny. And then I read this, I'm like, he wasn't kidding. Like he wasn't kidding.
I've liked Superman Son of Kal-El. I liked the first arc. I was on board. With Agenda, and I had hoped that they would thaw out this relationship, because I don't care what anyone says. That's the premise of this book. It's surrounded by this relationship, and that's it, right? The whole reason why John is going to Gamora in the first place is because this guy he cares about, quest for his family, right?
Yeah.
So why does John care about Jay? Why? does John care about? We have not gotten there yet. Who is Jay? How is he relevant to John? How is he going to better John? You know, I don't think we've gotten those answers yet, and I'm so patient. I'm still going to read the book, but I'm really reserved in how I'm taking it in now.
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying this because I don't want to offend anybody. Because if you're liking this book, if you're liking Superman Son of Kal-El, I'm super happy for you, because then that book did justice to you, right?
Absolutely.
But for me, I want a little bit more. I want to feel attached to these characters. I want to feel attached to this relationship. I want to care, and I haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'll see how much I like the book in the crossover, because, again, I haven't read a single issue of Sonic Kal-El. I've been more invested in what's going on in Action Comics. But
me too, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see how much I like it, but if this is how that relationship is written, and that is like the entire time, and that is basically the central focus of the book,
right,
then outside of this crossover, there doesn't seem to be much draw to me.
There isn't. There really isn't. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to tonight's show. Coming up on the channel, like I said, we have Into the Donnieverse coming out on Wednesday, where I'm going to be talking about all of Donny Cates' work, kind of giving like you a reading guide, where you can skip if you're a newer reader, how to get into some of Donny Cates' works. Overall, just breaking that down, which I'm excited for. We have archives coming out on Friday. We're going to be talking about the Ultimate Universe. I'm excited for that. Creators Corner, we just had Matt Hawkins on for Top Cal. That was our first partnership with them. So definitely check that out. Matt Hawkins has been one of the OG Image creators, okay, and people behind the scenes. We're excited about that and the opportunities that has given the channel here. So I'm really blessed to have that opportunity. On the horizon for Creators Corner, we have Terry Dodson and Matt Fraction coming on, boys. We got Pepe Larraz coming on. We got Mark Wade coming on. We have, who else did I say was coming in March? I'll have to double check a lot of the dates. We have Roy Thomas coming at the end of March as well, so I'm super excited to announce all of these in the near future. In the meantime, if you guys want more announcements, follow us on Instagram. All of our links are in the description below. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel if you like these kind of comic book reviews and conversations we have here at Comics Case. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today.
Thank you, guys. Station. See y'all next week.
Let's get this outro rolling.